This is Joshua Hart from GTH Boxing, and today I'm joined by Aqib Fiaz. Aqib, first of all, thank you for joining me today. How are we doing?
I'm all good, pal. How are you, mate? You okay?
I'm very good, thank you, and thank you for joining me. Let's get straight into this and not waste any time. The first thing I want to talk about is your most recent fight in Liverpool that took place at the beginning of the month.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on your overall performance that night?
Yeah, I was pretty happy with the performance. And my first stoppage as well. So yeah, glad to get the win as well. And really, before on paper, it was a tough fight really, and a lot of people were talking like it was going to be a big test, and maybe they'd see me slip up, and it was sort of my first fight where the world, well, not the world, but the people around us and people in and around boxing and no boxing thought, oh, you could get beat here. So I was up for the fight, and I trained hard, and yeah, you could see that in the fight through my performance.
And how did it feel like getting your first professional stoppage? Obviously, you were 10-0 before the fight with no stoppages. I'm sure it was a massive joy for yourself to get your first stoppage. How did it all feel?
Yeah, I mean, in my own mind, I've always known that I can punch anyway, really. And just because I've had no stoppage, it doesn't mean that I can't punch really. Everyone that spars me or fights me says the same thing. They were shocked that I didn't. So I wasn't too sort of fussed about it, and it wasn't really a massive deal for me, but it was in the back of my mind. And yeah, so I was glad finally, to get it. And I think a couple of my fights where I've had thought probably ref could have stepped in, and maybe it could have been stopped. You've seen fights stopped for less. And then a couple of weeks ago, I thought, even at times before it got stopped, round 4, 5, 6, I thought it could have been stopped. So yeah, good to finally get it anyway. Yeah.
So obviously you mentioned that you already knew you could punch. Do you reckon that was more of just a statement to the rest of the division, saying that, you do have that stoppage power in you?
Yeah, it's in there, isn't it? And I think once people fight me or spar me, they also say the same thing. So I think most people know, and I've been in there with some of the best in the division and in and around the division as well. I've been in with top quality fighters, so they all like know and respect me. So it was more just for myself, to be honest.
And then my next question is, when would you like to next be in the ring? Obviously, I know it's Ramadan at the moment, so you'll be fasting and everything. Um, but when would you like to next be out there?
Well, I'm ticking over pretty well during Ramadan as well. I'm training every day, if not sometimes twice a day. So, but obviously it's tough with the training. You can't really do too much, so you got to be careful. So I'll probably be ready around June time. So hopefully then, June or maybe end of May even. But most, I'd be most happy with June. Yeah.
Okay, so moving on from the most recent performance and what's next, I'd like to look back at the beginning of your career. So one of the things I'd like to ask you is, what made you pick Jamie Moore as the coach? Obviously, I've done interviews with Jamie, and he's a top man, and he's a very good trainer. What was it about Jamie for you that made you want to have him carry forward in your career?
Well, you just said it. More first and foremost, he's a top man, and he's a great person to be around. Um, and yeah, obviously in the gym as well, we had loads of good fighters at the time. I was brought in as Carl Frampton's sparring partner when I was amateur still. And then I remember walking into the gym the first time and seeing Martin Murray, people that you'd watched on TV, Martin Murray, Rocky Fielding, Carl Frampton, Tommy Coyle. There was loads of it, and I was like just walking on. I was like, wow, Jack Catterall was there. I was like, wow, I was 18, still in university at the time, and I said to my brother, I said, oh, I'd love to train here. And yeah, it turned out, the dream came true.
And what's it like having Jamie and Nigel as coaches now? Obviously, I was at the gym last Thursday, and you can see they're very energetic people. They thrive off each other. They're very entertaining and funny people. What's it like having them as your coaches?
Oh, they're great people, and they're not just me boxing coaches; they're my life coaches as well. They're just good people, and people that you can learn a thing or two from away from boxing as well. Just great role models for me, and people who you know have helped me throughout my life, not just boxing. So it was definitely the right decision. I knew within the first sort of couple of days that I'd made the right decision, turning pro with Jamie and Nigel.
And obviously, as well as having two great coaches around you, you're also surrounded by a lot of great fighters. Like obviously at the moment, you're surrounded by Chantelle Cameron, Jack Catterall, and many other fighters. What's it like having these great boxers around you, especially you as an up and comer? How is that beneficial for your career?
Yeah, I feel like I've benefited probably the most in that gym. I've been in and around all the top fighters, and I've learned things from every single one. I've picked things from all of them. Stuff I like, what he does. Stuff I like, what maybe what he doesn't. Maybe some things I don't like. I know that not to use them, or that works for him, it won't work for me. And it's just been great for me because I've been in there now. I think the best part of 4 years. So I feel like I've learned bits of every single style in there and added it to my own. And I'm sort of now starting to become my own, have my own style and have my own sort of weapons in my arsenal that I've nicked off other people and they've worked for them. So there's no reason why they can't work for me.
Obviously, in 11 fights, you've had some really, really good tests and some very tough tests. Do you think that will prepare you better for when you step up to pushing for titles?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, you see a lot of fighters that they have 10, 11, 15 fights sometimes against opponents that they're going to beat. And realistically, when they do step up, they always slip up anyway because they've not had any tests. They've not been, asked any questions in fights or anything like that. Whereas me, I think I've had questions from my second fight, third fight. I had tough fights early on. And then obviously, even over the 8 rounders, 6 rounders, I've had some tough tests. Um, and yeah, I'm learning to cope with the pressure a lot more, learning to deal with being under the lights, and the fight's been a big event because we sell a lot of tickets as well. So obviously there's a lot of pressure, and my hometown in Oldham, they back me. They back me to the hills really. So I've got to learn to sort. I turned pro at 19, and fighting in front of 3, 4, 5, 600 people was a lot of pressure. So I'm learning to deal with it, and I feel like I'm now my own man. So I can sort of I know what it is, and and I'm sort of coming through to the other side now, where I'm not hopefully I won't be considered a prospect sort of thing in the next 12 to 18 months. Yeah.
And what's been your toughest fight so far in these first 11 that you've had?
Ooh, tough question. I'd probably say for a number of reasons, the fight that I had in Eddie Earn's Garden, against a Mexican guy, Balderspino. It was a tough fight, and it was definitely tougher than it should have been because I made it that way. But definitely one of my biggest learning experiences, yeah, was that one.
And you've been weighing between like super feather and lightweight for your fights so far. Which division are you going to look to push for titles in?
I think for the moment, super featherweight definitely. As obviously I'm still young and I'm still growing. Maybe down the line, maybe a lightweight, but I think super featherweight is where I'll be looking to pick up my first few titles. Yeah.
And obviously, not as well. Obviously, you mentioned that you've got a huge following, and it's undeniable how great this following is. We saw it in Liverpool the other week, and we've seen them go to even Abu Dhabi for it. Where has that big following come from?
I always say, everyone always asks me this, and I always say to them, I don't know. I really don't have a clue. Um, I'm just blessed. I'm lucky, and people are just interested in my fights, and they want to come and watch, and it's sort of grown really from the amateur days. Really, my brother i is a local coach, and obviously he's got his own local amateur gym, and where I help out and stuff as well. So I think that helps a little bit. Um, and yeah, just Oldham's a fighting town, so it's I think that's all really, and I'm lucky and I'm blessed. Um, I'm no, I'm not from like a boxing family or anything like that. I'm the only boxer. Well, I'm not anymore. I was. My little brother's just started, and my brother's coaching and stuff. But we're not really a boxing family, or we wasn't anyway. So yeah, it's sort of just pot luck, I think, and a bit of God's plan.
And obviously, they've been supporting you so far, and that fan base is only going to get bigger. And is that almost the thing that pushes you on fight night, especially in these tough fights? And obviously, you're going to have a lot tougher fights as you go, as you progress in your career. Do they push you on and give you that extra gear to push into?
Yeah, so like I say, like I say, it's not. I say I don't know how the followings came, but obviously with time you see the same people and they keep coming to your fights. You sort of grow relationships. You sort of become close to people and you sort of build that bond with them. And then when you're in fights and you hear them shouting from the crowd and they shouting your name, saying "Come on, Aqib!" And when it gets tough in there, Eddie Earn's Garden, I think the tickets were about £1,000. I had about 40 people come there. So and in that fight when it was tough and I could hear him shouting and Jamie and Nigel in the corner as well, and it just gives you that extra drive and it sort of drags you through sometimes. And obviously, that's the only time I had to do it so far in my career. But I feel like obviously as we go along and I'm in the tougher fights and we get into the deep waters, that is what will most definitely carry me through. Yeah.
And as a practicing Muslim, how do you adjust your training during Ramadan? Obviously, you're not allowed to eat or drink or anything like that. So how do you adjust training during that period?
Well, I'm in the boxing gym with Jamie around 6 o'clock. Fast opens at 7:40 ish today, so we're in the boxing gym around 6 o'clock. Get a good hour and a bit work in there, bit of technical work, tactical work, um, and then I'll come home, open fast, pray, and then chill out at home, pray again, and then go to the gym to do me running or my weights or whatever. So I'm still training twice every day, sometimes twice a day, taking over nicely really. So you just have to sort of adapt the timing of your training so to when you can eat and when you can drink. Because more importantly, it's the water for me, so you're not too dehydrated. But yeah, it's good and to be fair with you, it's not as hard as you think because your body is amazing and it's science is proven now by science that fasting is sort of really good for your body. And sometimes when I train before I've ate and I've got no food in my system, I feel better. So yeah, it's a weird one.
I just want to quickly ask you a few other questions. Obviously, your stablemate Chantelle Cameron's fighting Katie Taylor in just under 2 months' time. Um, how do you feel Chantelle's getting on in the gym as she prepares for what is her date with Destiny?
Yeah, I sort of saw Chantelle yesterday in the gym. She's so sharp and so like ready, so far out for me. She's ahead of where she needs to be really. So for me, she's in a great place, and I think rightly so for this fight because it's the biggest fight in women's history. So I think we can expect from Chantelle a great performance and definitely I think she's she's gonna shock the world. It's like it's been a fight that has been talked about for a long time now for Chantelle. She's sort of wanted it. She's been calling out for it, and I think a lot of the times she sort of in her mind believed that it wouldn't happen, and now it's finally happening. I feel like she's got that bit between her teeth, and she was saying the other day that she's training, she's training extra hard, and she's just pushing herself that extra percentage. And I think on fight night that'll be the difference because we've already seen Chantelle have some great performances. So imagine her when she's got that extra 20, 30, 50%, whatever it is. Yeah, I think she's going to be unstoppable.
Do you reckon there'll be a stoppage on the night? Then obviously it's away in Dublin, and obviously last time one of your stablemates went away, and Jack Castrol, he got absolutely robbed on the scorecards. I still believe in the time I've been watching boxing is the biggest robbery I've ever seen. Um,
Yeah.
I've asked this to Jamie and Chantal and stuff. Is that a thing in the back of your mind, or is that something
I
you
think
just cannot look at?
I,
So if you're wondering why there's a bit of a cut here and this bit's all a little bit choppy, this is where the postman turned up. And there's only so much I can do, and one of the things that I cannot do is stop the postman. So sorry if it seems a little bit dodgy here. I'm still getting my hands around how to edit. But yeah, back to the video.
think it is probably in the back of Chantel's mind and in the back of Jamie's mind and in all our mind really, but I don't think that will be a factor in terms of Chantel's preparations. She's still preparing the way she should, and at the end of the day, really, it's all about the performance more than anything. However, yeah, that wouldn't be nice twice in a row.
Do you reckon that's going to almost be used as a extra push of motivation to make sure that everyone in the gym doesn't have to go through that again?
Um, Sorry, someone's calling me.
It's all right.
This is not the disturb for interview, Josh. Sorry.
It's all right, honestly. It's all right.
Yeah, no, I think Chantelle will definitely want to sort of cement victory and not have any doubts really. So it is pushing it even more, I think. Yeah.
And then my final question for you is, in 20 years' time, when you look back at your career and you retired and everything, what do you hope to have achieved, and how would you like to be remembered in the boxing world?
Oh, that's a deep question. That's deeper than I've ever thought. To be fair, um, I don't know really. I just want to. But first of all, I think I started boxing just because I enjoyed it, and it was sort of a hobby for me, and I loved it, and I was doing well at it. And then obviously I've been through a lot. I've lost my mother, and my mother was sort of my biggest sort of. She was probably one of the main reasons that I did so well in the boxing. She'd drive me to the gym and stuff every day, and sort of talk to me and get my mind and sort of make me believe in myself. And I think that now I don't really box just for myself and just because it's a hobby anymore. I box for my whole family. Mate, to change our lives. Um, so really and truly, it's do or die for me. Um, I've got to succeed and I've got to do well and make these people proud. As well as my family, Jamie and Nigel. Have invested a lot of time and effort in me. If I can look, if we can look back and just be, all these people can say that they were proud of me, I think I'll be happy.